The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Goonies Comedy Club.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. It's Tuesday. I'm John Russell. I'm still stuck at home, but today I'm stuck with my pal, Ryan Kahl. Gosh, Ryan, it's great to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too, John. Thanks for having me on.
For those of you that don't know Ryan, I want to tell you a little bit about him. I first met Ryan down at Goonies Comedy Club in Rochester. Ryan was at the time living in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is how far, Ryan? 90-minute ride from Eau Claire to Ryan. Ryan would ride almost every single week from Eau Claire, Wisconsin to Rochester, Minnesota. And it's not a freeway. He's going the back route. I mean, that's the closest. That's the easiest way to get there. And anyway, Ryan would come down almost every single week to get 5 minutes of stage time. Imagine that, folks. 90 minutes to get 5 minutes of stage time at the comedy club. And Ryan has progressed very nicely over the course of what's it been, Ryan? Almost 10 years now?
Yeah, close to 8 years maybe, I think.
Yeah. Ryan was one of the co-founders of the now very, very popular Clearwater Comedy Collective up in Eau Claire. They've been bringing in top-notch talent for, almost 4 years now, 5 years?
Yeah, I think 5 years. They might be coming up on their anniversary now. They've been doing a great job, man.
Ryan then has also moved into Minneapolis, where he is also a very big part of the Minneapolis comedy community. And he's been out working on the road, and it just always does my heart good because I know he's been a good guy for as long as I've known him. And even though he put out his own self-titled album, was it the Wild Stallion or the Great whatever the hell it was? I still got
whatever
that.
It was.
Whatever
Burn
it was.
Will you do me a favor and burn that? By the way.
But anyway. I'm so happy to have Ryan Kahl, and a lot of you folks that watch this on a regular basis know that one of the reasons I do this is because I've mentioned it before. If you've got a friend in comedy that you don't see very often, it's because they've started to do well. It's because they're busy doing other things and they're too busy to hang out at the same places that you used to. And so I know that about Ryan. I know he's been able to go out, and up until the point that this coronavirus happened, he's been able to go out and work very regularly on the weekends around the upper Midwest and wherever he gets booked. So that's one of the reasons I'm happy to have him on with me. One of the other reasons I'm happy to I haven't let you talk yet. And we're 3 minutes.
No, you're all good. You're all good, man. If you just want to talk for the rest of the show, I can sit here and smile. I'm happy to do that.
I'm the voice candy and you're the eye candy, baby.
There we go.
Anyway, one of the other reasons I want to have him on was because of the fact that, I got to get to get comments. There we go. There's Dusty. Hi, Dusty. Good to see you, buddy.
Dusty, good to see you, man.
Carol Lynn watches us from Kenosha, Wisconsin. And Kenosha is a swell spot. And Carol, you're going to like Ryan. Ryan is a good young man. One of the reasons I'm going to have Ryan on with me was because of the fact that you're involved in the Minneapolis comedy community so much. You have been helping with Shay Cares. And so this is, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to let you explain how this all came about, Ryan, and what exactly it is.
Sure. I do want to just put out a brief disclaimer there. I helped out yesterday with Shay Cares, which basically what that organization is it's a group of comedians and community members who are coming together and basically giving out goods to those most affected by the Minneapolis protests and riots. So it's just a really, really good organization. I do want to say I'm not, by no means am I a figurehead in this organization. I simply helped out, and Shea Webby, Ali Sultan, Bob Edwards, they are pretty much spearheading the charge there.
Yeah.
And they've done some incredible work.
And I wanted to say, I didn't mean to imply
No, you're all good.
that you came up with it, because it's not your name on it.
I just really wanted to clarify.
No, and I think that's good. But the thing that I think is most important is, because I've not been down. I mean, I've whatever. I don't want to say I donated.
That's helping though.
I know it's helping, but it's not being there. And you've been down there to help them. You've seen what goes on. You've seen what they're doing. And that's the thing. I mean, Shea Webby, Ali Sultan, Bob Edwards, all fantastic people. And if you want to help, I've got it scrolling along the bottom here. I encourage you to do that. These are people that are helping people who, by no fault of their own, now don't have a grocery store to shop at, now don't have a means to get things for their children and their families. And you can have any kind of political intent you want. I don't give a shit what it is. These people need help. And if you want to know what you can do, this is one thing that will help immediately, that I know will help today. So I encourage you to do that. And again, the information is scrolling along the bottom there.
Absolutely.
So I know where you live, Ryan, and I know that that you have, not to make light of it, but I know that you have your own issues where you live, but that's okay, because David's probably not watching. See, that was a jab at David. No, I'm kidding. So where you live in Robbinsdale,
Mm-hmm.
You don't live too terrible far from West Broadway, but thankfully for you, that's not where a lot of the violence and rioting happened, right?
Sure. Yeah. A lot of it took place in South Minneapolis, which is, where George Floyd was murdered. So most of the protests and destruction of property has taken place in South Minneapolis. However, I think Friday nights there were kind of fires all over, and now things seem to be cooling down a little bit, and it seems like the community is focused more on healing now.
I think one of the things that I've noticed is, yes, you're correct about the healing, but it seems to me as if the Minneapolis community, and I've seen this because Joey Vincent. I've been watching Joey Vincent with his live streams in the evenings. It seems to me, in some of the things that I've seen on his and other people's, like Unicorn Riot, Andrew Mercado, some of those live streams, that the community is policing itself.
Yeah,
I have seen numerous examples of people who try to start something, and people in the community stop them.
Yep.
And of course, we've seen many different things, but I think that's a fantastic thing right there. I'm going to pop this up from Dusty. Very nice, Dusty.
Yeah.
And I'll just catch up. Well, I'm wearing an AEW shirt, so of course, Luke, I am a WWE fan. I just got this out of the garbage. Paul, hey, good to see you, my friend. Thanks for looking in. Appreciate it. So let's get off of that for a minute. It's hard. I'll say this. It's very difficult for me because I started doing this back like in the middle of March, and I've done this, God, over 40 times now, almost 45, close to 50. And I feel like I don't want to, I feel like I can't stop, but I also feel like I have to make sure that I pay attention and respect what's going on in the community.
Definitely.
And it's an odd situation, because as much as I want to talk, one of the reasons that I've been doing this is because I want to make sure that people I know that are comedians that aren't able to be out in front of a public audience kind of get to do that a little bit, so at least people get to know them. So anyway, I don't know. This is not a confession by any means, Ryan.
For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing by putting the show on and putting a spotlight on what's happening, Yeah.
Well, all right. I appreciate it. So having said that, before our current situation, when we just had the COVID-19 to deal with, Jesus, do you remember the last show that you got to do before the coronavirus took everything down?
Yeah, it was actually a weird one. So we were in northern Wisconsin, and it was the Friday. It was like late March. I think it was the Friday that everything was shutting down in Minnesota and pretty much around the country. And there was like this, a small town bar that decided they were still going to do a show. In fact, they were running a Corona beer special that night. My aunt, uncle, and a couple cousins showed up to the show without telling me, which I didn't. I wasn't aware that they were going to be there, and then I didn't, bomb my whole ass off, but certainly bombed a little bit of it off, sure.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, and I'm assuming that your calendar right now is clear like everybody else's.
Yeah, dude, that's the weirdest part of this is I'll still get notifications because I was really fortunate, before this was happening, where I had pretty much up until May to June booked out, and so for the last months, couple months, one of the most surreal things is getting these notifications from my calendar of, hey, you're going to be in, Sauk Rapids tonight, and it's like, oh,
yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
no, I'm not. Have you had any booking inquiries in the recent couple of weeks?
A couple. Like I've had Zoom show offers, which I'm not. If it's just you're doing stand up on a Zoom show, to me that's, personally I think it's just sadder than it is funny. And that's not always true, obviously, but for me that's something I'm not super interested in doing. So, but physical shows I haven't really had too much,
Yeah, I still. I'm assuming I'm supposed to headline at Goonies on June 6th.
Okay.
Assuming that's not going to happen. Since the so and you've been down there.
Yeah.
The Crooked Pint is even though today as of June 1st they have the opportunity to be open and do the outside seating thing, they're not going to do it. They just don't have enough room, and I think that's the case for a lot of restaurants where it's the trouble that they would have to go to be open and serve people is not worth it.
Yeah.
It's just such an odd situation here. Lon, just catch up again. Hi, Peggy Miller. Good to see you. Thanks for looking in. Yeah. So anyway, so let's talk about comedy.
Sure.
What possessed you as a young, up-and-coming Golden Gloves boxer to decide I'm gonna throw away the gloves? And I tease Ryan about that, but he's actually a pretty good boxer. But to do that and to start doing stand-up.
I was 16 years old and I went and saw Funny People in theaters, which is a Judd Apatow movie with Adam Sandler. First half of that movie, by the way, really good. Second half, not as great. But there's basically in that movie, if you haven't seen it, there's comics living together in Los Angeles in a house. And that was the first time that it kind of clicked of like, oh, people can be comedians and make some kind of living off of doing that. So that's kind of where the idea sprouted, I guess. And then I just ran with it.
As I recall, that movie would have been great if it would have ended at a certain spot, but then there was like an extra 20 minutes that
yes, I agree,
really
100%
went down the old suck hole.
Yes.
But I can't believe you were 16 because I went and watched that with my kids.
Yeah, man. I was
Holy
16,
cow.
saw it in theaters. Yeah.
Holy cow. You, so how old are you?
I'm 27 now. Yeah.
27. Both of my sons are older than you.
Crazy.
How do you think that makes me feel right now?
I don't. How about you answer that? How does that make you feel, John?
It makes me feel okay, I guess. I mean, all right. So, you go and you start doing stand up. Where was the first place you went? Did you go to Acme first?
No, I think Goonies was the first. Goonies was my first time, and then the next week I went to Madison and did that, and then Goonies. You mentioned that I would drive, an hour and a half, 2 hours just about every Thursday. I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't such an inviting open mic with such a good crowd and ran by such a good person. So I think that's a testament to what a good job you've done with
Nathan
that mic,
Hall,
John.
Nathan Hall always ran a good open mic. Oh, you're talking about me. I know.
Yeah,
I'm too. I don't. It's fun for us at the comedy club because, as you know, Mark Clampy is a huge supporter of everybody comedy.
Yep, he's one of the best owners. He's one of the best club owners in the country.
And people may or may not realize this, but he and I try to find people that take comedy seriously. And if they truly want to try to make a career out of it, we try to support as much as we can. Mm-hmm. He's obviously got more stroke in the business than I do because he owns a club, and I'm just an old guy that started late. But having said that, we were happy. Do you remember the first time you get to be a feature act?
I think it was one of the 4 for the Funnies, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was the first time. Well, I mean, granted, I think I took like a gig at Menominee Stout that was like, I was 6 months in and they were like, can you do 45 minutes? And I was an idiot, still am. So I was like, yeah, of course. And then just completely, that time I did bomb my whole ass off for about 40 of those 45 minutes.
Wow. Wow. And how did the students enjoy it?
Oh, dude, it was in the cafeteria and there was like 3 students, none of which knew that there was a show. They just thought they were doing study hall. So bad, real bad. They didn't like
perfectly. It's like a guy standing up and yelling in a library.
Yeah,
right?
Dude, it's literally what it was.
Let me catch you up. Hello, Luke. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for looking in, sir. Anyway, all right. So, you do all of that stuff. So when's the first time you go up to basically the shrine in Minnesota comedy, Acme? When was the first time you went up at Acme? Do you remember that?
I mean, I think that was still probably my first year of doing stand-up. I did the Funniest Person with the Day Job contest. And honestly, I didn't have a great experience at Acme my first time there, which is probably part of why I kept coming to Goonies, because I just felt like it was a lot warmer and a more inviting space to practice.
Yeah. And so give me a little insight as to when you guys started your crew in Eau Claire.
Sure. I think that was, it was shortly before I moved to Minneapolis. So I would say I was probably doing stand-up for 3 years. There'd been a group of comedians that lived in Eau Claire. Colin Ryan is basically the founding father of the Eau Claire comedy scene. Jordan Durow, whatever he's going by now, Christina Wolf, huge parts of that initial creation of Clearwater comedy. And so the idea was basically just Eau Claire's big enough to at least have a weekly show. And we've been really fortunate. We've had some incredible acts come through since then.
So, but basically it was formed out of the need to just have a place that you could go where you didn't have to drive 90 minutes to get anywhere. Yeah,
so I should clarify too, there was an open mic that was more of a variety open mic happening at the Plus in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It was run by Sean Jones, who is a great member of the community, and it just, we would go up at the very end of the open mic, and then that kind of turned into, okay, now more people are doing comedy, and now there's an hour of the open mic that's just dedicated to comedy. And the scene there has grown, and it's been really cool. That's what's interesting when you start young. You're always, for a long time, you're the kid in every comedy scene,
Yeah.
and it's been really cool to, as I've gotten older, now there are a lot of college kids they're the kids, and so it's cool to see them grow and just get funnier, because they're all, a lot of those comics are really funny. Jack Ross, Hannah Koblitz, Nathan Rich, all those guys. I'm leaving people out, and if you're watching it, I'm leaving you out. It's not because I don't think you're funny. They're all very funny.
That's not true. He gave me a list beforehand. And I had to approve. So let's fast forward a little bit to the point where now you're in Minneapolis, you're getting involved, and then you start becoming involved with the 10,000 Laughs Comedy Festival, right?
Yeah. I've been really fortunate, and I feel like I've kind of just stumbled into a lot of really big opportunities in comedy. Being a part of the 10,000 Laughs Comedy Festival is one of those things. I think my first or second year in Minneapolis, I was accepted into the festival, which was, a huge honor. And I was part of the Best of Fest show, which is, an even bigger honor, obviously. And then Bob Edwards, the executive producer of the 10,000 Laughs Comedy Festival, approached me about coming on to work on the festival, and it's been, one of the experiences of a lifetime for me. One of my biggest experiences, for sure.
Yeah, and you're still involved, right?
Yeah. So if the festival's going on this year, I did step down as a producer just because it's so
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it's I really have so much respect for anyone who's undertaking that endeavor, because it's truly a thankless job, but it's a lot of work, and so part of me leaving was just kind of, I didn't get into comedy, I guess, to do administrative tasks. I got into do comedy, so I want to focus more on that. And then coronavirus happened, so
yeah, perfect. Yeah, if it's not one thing, it's something else.
Yeah, man.
So let's just take a little step, because I did the same thing that you did, and you may or may not recall it. I also self-produced an album very, very prematurely.
How far into comedy were you when you released an album?
I would say probably, I just found the only remaining, I mean, there's copies around, but I found the last one that I have. And I think it was like 2010. So
okay.
maybe 2 years.
Sure. So you at least had some material, though. You were,
look, let's put it this way. So here's how mine, and for those of you that are watching, if you really want to go look it up, I don't know if I'm charging for it or not anymore. I shouldn't be. I never should have been. But it's called In Russ We Trust. Right?
It's a good name. That's a good name for
I know it's a great name. It's like look at that. Yeah, there, David. You probably, I don't know if you have one or not. I don't know if you can get them on eBay. Maybe they're worth nothing. So what happened? So it was for me was my progress was I was emceeing at Goonies, right? Mm-hmm. Which was at that time no pay. It was like no pay, but you can have all your drinks are free. So yep. Guess how bad a decision that was for a while before I figured out, well, if my pay is going to be in alcohol, I'm going to get paid well.
Oh yeah.
Bad idea. Anyway, so it got to the point where I'm like, okay, 5 minutes is not enough. I need it, and so I remember approaching Mark and saying, I got this idea. It's for the funny, 4 comics, $4. And the whole idea is it's people that are trying to stretch your legs out. Everybody gets 20 minutes or whatever it was. And the first one was Brian Miller, Nate Abshire, Greg Berman, and me. And all 3 of those guys have national television credits. And I was on Pauly Shore for 6 seconds, and Gilbert Gottfried for 4. So
2 credits. You have 2 national credits.
Both of them uncredited, by the way.
Oh, well, never mind.
But anyway, the point being that because of my experience in radio, my background in radio, I knew how to do the recording. I knew how to do all of that stuff. So I just thought, well, that's what you do. You just do it. And I didn't have but 30 minutes of material, and I had to take some other stuff that I had recorded on another recorder from like when I was out doing a show at some dump. And so I'm like, okay, so here's the real set. And then here's the set. This is on the road. And then I still didn't have enough time to fill out a whole hour. So I took some old radio bits that I had done and stuck them in at the end. All right. And so it's just at 45 minutes.
Dude, at least you're filling the time, though. I think mine was maybe 20 minutes. And for me, at least for you, it sounds like you were doing it with, I guess, good intentions for the right reasons. Oh, no? Okay.
No, of course not.
For me, I was 19, and it was definitely just all an ego thing. It was absolutely ego.
Here's the thing. I feel like anybody that is not headlining and decides it's a good time to record an album is fooling themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I know that now, but I sure as hell didn't then. And it was just like, well, I can do all of this. I'll just do it. And
it's
then
an easy misstep.
It's huge. And then so here I am. I'm going out and I'm doing feature spots, and I'm working with guys like, do you remember Scott Brady?
I don't think I ever met him.
Yeah. So Scott Brady was an older comic than me, and he's been around a long. He was around a long time, and he and I go out and do this road trip. It's Rapid City, Pierre, and Cheyenne, and I know that routing sounds stupid, but that's what it was. And so here we are. He has zero to sell. I have a shit CD, some temporary tattoos, and I've got all this stuff to say. He's got nothing. And so the whole thing is, and I end up literally, I think out of because when I get the CDs printed, right? First of all, why would anybody want CDs anymore? I can't even play it in my car. My car is 2010. There's no CD player in it. New cars are like, no, you don't get a CD player. You have a USB port. You have a USB port.
Well,
Hi, Sherry. Good to see you. Yes, everybody's out there. Everybody's out there. They're all out there.
Whether or not they should be. Yeah, man, it was weird because 2011, 2012 was still that period where CDs it was kind of, the writing was on the wall, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But you could still easily fool yourself and say, no, this is a worthwhile investment. People want physical copies. People don't want physical copies of a comedy album, man.
No.
It's at least you didn't put it out on vinyl, though. I've seen a couple people do comedy albums on vinyl, which is an insane thing to me.
Here's the thing. I think if you're a known act,
yeah.
I think if you're an established performer, I think that a release on vinyl is okay.
Sure. I agree with that.
I think in many instances I've had stupid shirts, and I've been able to sell stupid shirts because that way people are like, oh, I'll wear that shirt, or I know somebody I'll give that shirt to. It's a tip. It's the same kind of mentality with a CD, but nobody uses CDs anymore. So it's almost like, I mean, because people can't see any use for it. But anyway, regardless. So when you recorded your CD, were you thinking, I'm going to be able to sell a ton of these? Were you thinking, and the other thing is, how many what was your minimum to get them printed?
Dude, I think I had like at least 100, 200 copies. So not, in the grand scheme of things, not a ton, but I mean, that wiped out my savings account at the time. I was just so, I didn't have any understanding of how the business worked. I literally booked like 1 or 2 gigs, dropped out of college because I was like, why would I need a degree? I'm already booking gigs now. And I think you know, what the craziest thing is, like, even at the time, I remember thinking, like, you know, this isn't necessarily good, but when I am a big name comedian, people can look back on this and see how far I've come, which is such a narcissistic and insane thing to think. Like, that I would ever make it in the first place, to where people would be looking, you know, at my backlog, and then B, that people would be like, yeah, this is bad, but I'm glad I'm looking at it, or I'm glad I'm absorbing this content, you know?
See, that's the thing. It's like, I look at what I have, and while some of it I still enjoy, it's mostly the radio bits, because they were good and I was good at that.
Yeah.
And I might tell 3 jokes that are on that CD.
Oh yeah.
Still, maybe 3.
Yeah.
But
dude,
not.
I don't know if I tell any of those jokes. I'm embarrassed by almost all of them.
Dude, exactly. How do you travel with enough vinyl to make it profitable? See, that's it. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a better chance, Jenny, I believe, if you're taking vinyl with you to sell at shows. I think you stand a better chance of busting more stuff or having it melt than you do of selling it. I would never do that.
That's the only thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say the only way I think that vinyl works is if you've got an arrangement with somebody and you can drop ship them.
Yep.
Because there's no way that you can take them with you.
Yeah.
Their vinyl records are heavy. I mean, man, I mean, I hate having to take different sizes of shirts with me, you know. Tax deduction, well, that's true, but
that's the whole thing with vinyl, though, is like vinyl, the whole concept is like, well, it sounds crisper, it sounds better. If I'm listening to a comedy album, why do you know, as long as you can hear what the joke is, that's all that matters. You know, it's not like
I don't want to hear the guy's teeth click.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit down with a nice cup of tea and, you know, put on my favorite Dane Cook vinyl. Like, what?
No. Bill Cosby on 8-track, you know? Yeah, I mean, I'm old enough to know what an 8-track is.
And look what Bill Cosby went on to do. See, you got to stick to one format. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, they didn't have MP3s back then either, though. So, all right. So one of the things that I like to ask Ryan, and you've been doing this long enough that I know you have at least 1 or 2. Tell me about your favorite and/or most memorable hell gig.
Okay. I was in actually Gillette, Wyoming. Have you done this gig?
No, not in Gillette.
No. Okay. Well, this is it is an interesting area, man. It was me, Tommy Bayer, and then a headliner from Minneapolis that will go unnamed.
Okay.
He's just kind of a lunatic of a guy, a very nice guy, but he's absolutely a lunatic. So we drove down with him. And
I think I know who you're talking about.
He owns he's like, yeah, okay. I think you know. We'll
I think I know.
Later. Yeah. So we get there. It's like a 12, 15-hour drive or something. I think 12. But and this is like, Trump is president. He's been president for a year. The people of this town, though, are still like just randomly taking pot shots at Obama for some reason. You know, the kind of town where they're still hung up on that for some reason, which, whatever your political beliefs, I don't care. But it's like, you know, if someone was complaining about George H.W. Bush today, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. But we get there. I have like a couple semi-political jokes, and I don't know, people just freak out. It was just a bad gig, dude. And then also we were with a guy who was insane and like was saying weird stuff to one of the waitresses, and she like threatened to call the cops on him. But also, so like we did 2 nights. The first night was like kind of a hell gig. Second night, my parents drove down from Montana. And I had a really good set, and I was featuring. And I remember at the end of the set, I was just so excited that I got them, because it was so hard the first night that, like, which is a feature, you should never say this, but I was like, at the end of my set, I was like, I was just so excited. I was like, I'm the greatest comedian of all time. And like the audience was like, yeah. And then the headliner went up, and like literally within 2 minutes of him being up, me and the host can hear him on stage being like, tough crowd. It's like, it's not. They're a good crowd. Tonight is a good crowd. Granted, I shouldn't have done what I did, but my parents are here. I had a good set in a bad environment, you know? But yeah, it was fucking weird, dude.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's not terrible in terms of.
Honestly, the Menominee gig was probably the worst one. The one where I, said I had 45 minutes when I really had 5 minutes was probably just the classic, taking on more than you can chew.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So those are the rough ones.
Yeah.
Now, you know what's coming next. Tell me about the highest point in your comedy career at this point.
I mean, I've been really fortunate, and Rory Scovel is probably my favorite comedian. If you're not familiar with him, definitely check out his stuff. He's hilarious. I've got to open for him a couple times, and he's just one of the nicest people I've ever met. Both times I've had great sets, and he's given me feedback, which is, when you really idolize someone like that, it's something special, and that's something that I think as comics or, as a creative person, it's very easy to fall into self-doubt. And, the experiences I've had with Rory Scovel are things that I kind of go back to, and that's a source of, I guess, strength, something.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're writing your material, Ryan, do you write it mostly yourself? Do you have writing partners? I know you hang around with Tommy Bear a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we'll bounce stuff off each other, but usually, I mean, most of it just comes from riffing, and then that's the kernel of the idea, and then I'll go for a walk and just kind of start to jog things out. I can't. A lot of comics, especially in Minneapolis, are really good at sitting down and just writing. I've never been able to do that. I have to, be doing something else and then kind of thinking about it in the back of my head. So I guess that's my process.
Yeah, I like that. So, like, if somebody would come up to you after a show and say, "Hey, Ryan, why don't you try this?" And give you a tag or whatever. Do you use them? Do you try them out?
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on who's giving it. I mean, if it's someone I respect, absolutely, I'm gonna try that. But every once in a while, you have somebody where it's like they just got off stage their first time, and then they just give you objectively bad advice, and you're like, well, I'm not going. Why the fuck?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
do that.
but that's what I mean. It's like I still have tags that I use that I know exactly who gave them to me.
Oh yeah,
and it's like that's one of the things that I appreciated, and that's one of the things that I miss about being at open mics. That's probably the only thing that I miss is people giving you feedback about stuff that is constructive and can help.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm like, I know who gave me that one and that one and that one. And then I think to myself, shit, I should just have somebody else write my act because there's not a whole lot of my stuff in there anymore. That's not true. But anyway, all right. So we already talked a little bit about open mics and Zoom mics and that kind of thing. Have you done any like Zoom shows where you're paid?
I haven't. No. Again, like I've had a couple offers and I've just kind of turned them down. I don't know, man. I'd rather, if stand-up's going to come back, which who knows if it will, I hope it does, but I would rather just wait for the real thing. It feels like, what it feels like is before like Burger King had the Impossible Burger that actually, tastes like meat. When like your vegan friends would be like, you gotta try this vegan hot dog. And then you taste it and you're like, that's dirt. That tastes like dirt. It's not a hot dog. It's the same thing with these Zoom shows. That's my viewpoint anyways. And I'm sure I'm wrong, but
you're not right. Here's the thing. I think that there's so many things going on and so many people trying to figure out how to keep things going. Yeah. That it's there's no best practices yet because there is no real like this is the way to do it.
Yep. Exactly.
And go ahead.
I just wanted to say I hope it doesn't come off as me, saying if you run a Zoom comedy show, you're a moron. I'm not anti.
I don't think it comes off that way.
Okay.
I ask everybody about it. And some people are very comfortable doing it. Some people are not. And I have no judgment one way or the other. Because I'm doing this,
yep.
I don't know what this is. Is it just an interview? Well, pretty much. I mean, I'm not asking anybody to do material on it. And even if you did, I'd be the only one that laughed. Well, I mean, because you can't hear. It's not because the material's bad.
Sure.
But well, in your case, anyway. But the thing is, the thing is that I can't judge. I've always tried to not do that. I've always like I don't know if you were involved when David and I were doing the workshop thing down at Goonies. And
I think I showed up a couple times.
Yeah. And David was Mr. Sunshine, and God love him because that's his personality. And he always likes to help people. And I was Mr. Reality, and I was the a-hole. And it's better than nothing, Don Trell, I tell you. But the thing is that I would never tell anybody, and this is one of the problems, I would never tell anybody what material they should or shouldn't do. That's a personal thing. And it's the very same thing with this. I wouldn't I would never tell you. Well, for example, David, if David said, I don't ever want to do magic in my act again, I would say, I think it's what's right for you. So that's what you should do. If I was a magician, I might use it. I might use it more. I always feel like if you have a talent and you don't use it, that you're slighting yourself, making it harder for yourself. Yep. But it's not for everybody. Has a different path. Yep. And if I know some people are making money doing little Zoom meetings. Chris Schlichting, who I have on with me from down in Davenport, has done several of them. Yeah. Who else? Mr. Showtime was doing stuff live. Did you open for him too?
Yeah, I think he's owned by the
Midnight Swinger at that point.
Yeah.
You'll have to go back and watch. He gives the reason why he changed his name.
Oh.
And it's pretty much basically because he had people that would say Midnight Swinger, this is going to be too dirty. Simply because of the word swinger, and you're talking about the Bible Belt. There's like, oh, that fella's a swinger. We don't want to have him anywhere near our place.
You're like, I'm not going to go to that show. That guy's going to try to fuck my wife. Okay, I'm sorry. Are we allowed to swear on this? I hope so.
Well, no, FCC rules don't apply to live streams.
Tarnishing the good name of Goonies Comedy Club.
All right, we ran a disclaimer at the front. Remember?
Okay, good.
But the point being that I don't judge anybody. I think anybody that tries anything is great. I think anybody that can get to the point where they can make something that is viewable and entertaining, fantastic.
Yep.
I've been helping Wendy Mayberry and Karen Pickering do their Day Drinking with Mom shows online. I'm running it through here. I'm behind the scenes. But my job in doing that is to make it look as professional and slick as I can. They are the ones taking care of the talent and that type of stuff. Mine is just structure. Given that fact, I think they come off pretty good.
Oh yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, that I'm only responsible in this scenario. I'm only responsible for the technical stuff. And a lot of the Zoom shows don't have something like that. It's like, hey, Zoom, here's how it works. Everybody comes on, everybody has their noise. No, I gotta hire and get some people to go through and silent the noisy mics.
Yeah.
So but I just don't think there's any one good platform. I don't think there's any one good way. And I think that's what makes it difficult.
Yeah, we can only speak to our own experiences and our own viewpoints,
I know some people are. I know some people are very, very good and have learned to play to the camera.
Yep.
I ain't that guy.
Yeah.
But I've seen some people that are fantastic at it and are actually thriving as Zoom, as online comedians, because they know how to play to that camera, and they're not necessarily doing verbal bits. They're doing visual bits, and it seems to work for them.
Yeah.
So it's just like anything else. Some people are really good doing a live show at a bar. Some people are really good at doing a live show at a club. Some people are really good at doing a live show at a church.
Yep.
They're not always the same guy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with online. Anyway, that was a big long thing about nothing. Oh my God, Ryan.
We're Seinfeld over here, baby.
Well, sort of. I mean, that's always what this has kind of been, except I don't have the same inflection. So I just get, Ryan, I get so on Fridays. You know what I do on Fridays?
What do you do on Fridays?
On Fridays, I have 2 weeks ago. I started this last Friday was bad, but I still did it. So I have on Fridays, I crack open a bottle of wine, put it in my wine cup, and I drink it during the show.
Which, to clarify, if you weren't just watching the screen, is a cup that John has just written wine on.
On the other side, I think you can see it says Fairview. I got this when I was in the hospital, and I'm sure that the hospital people would be happy to know that I'm putting it to good use. Well, Andy.
He's got the face mask on, at least. I think, if as long as you're being safe, you can voice that opinion.
I love Andy Fisher. I'm glad that Andy Fisher was able to tune in. I'm sorry that he missed all of the important information that you and I covered previous, and he just tuned into me. It's a fair assessment. He says that I was ranting for like 11 minutes, but only Andy Fisher has the time to time how long I was ranting. So I don't know, Ryan. Oh my gosh. So how do you how do you justify? See, now I'm trying to be all serious, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do anything serious the rest of the time.
Well, you've got Andy on the back of your mind now, which is...
My gosh, I know. So tell me this: were you doing comedy full time? Did you still have a day job?
I mean, in hindsight, this was really, really lucky. I've been working like one day a month at a pancake house. The original pancake house in Plymouth, which they have patio seating open now. Feel free to go eat there.
Are you working there now?
I am not. No. So I'm lucky because I've been able to collect unemployment due to me still technically being an employee there. But yeah, I was pretty much full time, pretty much every weekend on the road, which was exciting and had its own set of challenges. And then coronavirus happened, and that has its own set of challenges.
Yeah. So are you doing anything else now to keep busy other than volunteering?
Not really, man. I've just been trying to stay in shape, working out and stuff, trying to write every day still. But it's such a weird time right now because, you're sitting there writing jokes and you're just like, are these ever going to be used? Or is this just, should I turn this into a tweet? What do I do here?
Yeah. It's a difficult thing. And everybody, this is the interesting thing. Everybody that does comedy is going to have this amount of time where none of us are going to be great at it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, there's so much, for lack of a better term, ring rust that's going to have to get knocked off that, it's interesting. Andy Fisher says to stockpile new material. I can't do it, buddy. I'm busy having 11-minute rants.
Yeah. You're letting it out right here, man.
I'm using all the good stuff on this daily show. Thankfully, it's all recorded. And anyway, oh my God. So, good Lord. Tell me about your favorite show that you ever did.
I don't know. I guess I'm sure it was something with 10,000 laughs, or maybe I got to open for Kyle Kinane in Eau Claire. That was a pretty sweet show. I mean, that was sold out, and those audiences in Eau Claire are just always so good too. I talked earlier about just how fortunate I've been in comedy, and that's truly part of it. Also, is like we have some of the best audiences in the world in Eau Claire and Minneapolis. I truly believe that. So I don't know if I can boil it down to any one show, but I guess in lieu of doing that, I would like to just say how great the crowds are here in Minnesota and Wisconsin.
Do you
Comedy
think
on
that's
State too. That's a great, such a good
yeah.
room.
Yeah, Wisconsin, everywhere Wisconsin is good.
Yep.
There are places in Minnesota that I've been that are like,
Sure.
you know, but I mean, virtually I can't think of a bad room ever in Wisconsin. And that's from the lake on over this way.
Yep.
And from the north on Lake Superior down to the rocky shores of Illinois. My God, I don't know what I'm saying. It's interesting to me. Do you think like because how long did you live in Eau Claire before you moved to Minneapolis?
Well, what, maybe 3 years? I think I was 21 when I moved here. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't even seem like that long.
Dude, it's crazy. It's just been flying by. I for like a while, I've been telling people I'm 26 just because I genuinely thought, it's not like I'm being coy. I just thought I was 26. And then I was talking to my dad on the phone. He's like, I mentioned I was 26. He's like, no, dude, you're 27. You're not.
Wow.
Oh man. Yeah, it's weird.
It's amazing to me. So when you moved from Eau Claire to Minneapolis, obviously there was a big difference in population wise.
Yeah.
Did you notice a difference in attitude at all, or is it pretty much the same?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Minneapolis, I don't know about attitude. I will say, like, comedy wise, I was fucking terrified. I mean, it's so intimidating when you're doing maybe 1 or 2 mics a week tops, and then you come in and everybody's doing, usually 7 mics a week. I mean, I just felt so intimidated, and luckily that kind of went away after like being in the scene for a little bit. But yeah, it's just crazy how good everyone in Minneapolis is.
Yeah, there you go. Beer and incest to make Wisconsinites giggly.
Okay, a guy with the last name Hudson. All right, is that a guy?
I think no. It's interesting.
I will say this though. See, these Minnesotans, this is a problem with Minnesota. If you don't live in Minneapolis or St. Paul, you're Wisconsin. You're who you're talking shit about. You're the same state.
It's true. I mean, even Duluth.
Oh, yeah.
And I like Duluth, but Duluth is like, holy cow. I remember going up there and working at Dublin's, which I know you've worked up there, right?
Yep.
And there used to be a place over in Superior. It was a Spur gas station, and they had fried chicken of some kind there, but they all called it Chicken Spur. It wasn't the Spur gas station. It wasn't fried chicken from the Spur. It was just Chicken Spur, and they were all mad. Actually, you know what? That's absolutely true. I can't tell you how many times I've done a show at Dublin's, and people from Canada are like, "Oh, can we get your picture taken, eh?" And it's like, yeah, okay, sure, But I mean, it's like, have you ever done comedy up in Canada, Ryan?
I haven't. No.
I know Thunder Bay has a nice little club.
That's what I've heard. I just need to get a passport, and hopefully I need comedy to come back. So I can.
If you didn't have a passport, that's the thing. I'm considering getting a passport myself, simply because, when this is all over, I don't care. I feel like I'm going to go, and whether I'm doing comedy or whether I'm just going somewhere, I'm going somewhere.
Oh, dude, I don't blame you at all. That's the first, even like 2 weeks after the coronavirus thing happened, I was straight up like, God damn, I've turned down so many gigs, and I don't know if I'm ever going to turn down a gig again. I don't care where in North Dakota it is, I'm doing gigs.
Rochester is in Wisconsin is Thin Woman in Wisconsin.
What does that even mean?
Well, I get what he means. It's Rochester is as much in Wisconsin as there are thin women in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
I get it. I get it. It's although I've seen some skinny women in Wisconsin.
Also, I'm not saying Wisconsin is not, I agree. Wisconsin is like the Arkansas of the North. I get it, but
what you're
most
saying
Minnesota
is
too.
what you're saying is if you're in the 7-county area,
Yeah,
that's Minnesota, and then
yeah,
outside of that, it's Wisconsin or North
yeah. It's
Dakota, whichever way the wind
indistinguishable.
blows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh! No, I'm not. We're not hating North Dakota.
Fargo's great.
Jenny, I lived in Fargo for 10 years. I love North Dakota. I love Fargo. I'm just, this is what's called in the comedy biz, digging a hole that you're going to try to get out of for fun. And the easiest way for me to get out of this would just be to hit the button and say we're done. But I don't want to do that yet. I mean, because I'm enjoying talking with Ryan. Oh my gosh! So, what do you got planned for the rest of the week, buddy?
I think nothing tomorrow, and then Thursday I'm going to be back down volunteering with Shea Cares.
Let's talk about that again here towards the end of the show. Shea Cares, and I will put I'll put the link in the. And what's wrong? Fargo is about 20 miles away. Well, see, that's that's true. I mean, it's yeah. Most of them, yeah, that's true. Anyway, speaking of Shea Cares, please donate, volunteer for folks that are now without a place to get grocery for their families. And that's the main thing that they're doing there. They've got food, they've got supplies that people need, personal care items, and you can donate your time, or you can donate some money to help keep stocked up. And there are pictures if you check out the Shea Cares page on Facebook, and you'll see hundreds of people lined up, because seriously, these are people that were not out and causing problems, and these are people that were living in their neighborhood that were affected. So I encourage you to go and look that up and donate, either money or time or both. Anyway, Ryan, we're up on an hour, buddy, and
wow.
and it goes fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
I enjoyed talking with you. It was great to see you.
Yeah, man.
I
Good
hope
to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I hope once we get all done with this, that we can do a show together somewhere, or if not that, we can sit down, have a drink, and talk about all the old times, like today.
I think we can do both, man. I think we can do both.
I agree. Also, please, if you're when you're down there, if you get a chance to ask Shea or Ali or Ashley Henderson and Bruce Leroy Williams, I know are also doing stuff on the north side. If you happen into any of them, please let them know. If they are not too busy, I would love to have them come on and talk about what they're doing.
Definitely, I will.
But I just don't want to take them away from what they're doing, because that's way more important than this.
For sure.
Anyway, folks, tomorrow, a lot of you know the wonderful Josh Floorhog, who is formerly from Minneapolis and now living in Los Angeles. He'll be on with me at 1:00, and I can only hope that one of his famous relatives might hop in with him. I doubt that'll happen, but I can hope. Anyway, folks, I thank you again. If you're not donating time and or money to help, that's your choice. If you are watching people streaming, thank you, Carol. It's always nice to see you. Don't forget to eat the Pancake House. That's right. That's right. But if you're watching something on a stream, stop, watch it, like it, share it. If it's not your cup of tea, move on, find something else. But please support creative people that are doing things on the internet while they cannot do it in front of audiences. It helps them feel connected, and you help them feel like what they're doing has some value. So if you do that, you're a big hero to me. If you donate and help, you're a hero to me as well. So, folks, thank you so much again. Ryan, take care of yourself, buddy. And everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Bye-bye.